is from, I believe, the New York Times, said, at Kirk's service, an extraordinary fusion of government and Christianity. And then the subtitle is The Memorial Reflected the degree to which conservative Christianity had melded with Republican politics in the Trump era. That was the takeaway from the New York Times. Here's Jemar Tisby, who wrote the book, The Color of Compromise. He said, now that everyone has seen the blatant white Christian nationalism on display at the Kirk Memorial political rally, here are some resources to help you learn more and resist more effectively. And then he promotes his book, The Color of Compromise. So according to people like the New York Times and self-professed Christians like Jemar Tisby, that was a political rally. And we need to resist that. That's Christian nationalism. That's white Christian nationalism. And I'd like to get your thoughts. What is going on with that label, Christian nationalism?
Well, it's kind of like what we were talking about with the politics and defining the word. No one is working from the same definition of Christian nationalism. So it just gets thrown around, especially by the mainstream media, in this way that makes everyone think that this is this really dangerous, awful thing, but no one's taking the time to stop and define it from a biblical or a civic perspective. And then most of the time, it's not. So I actually dug into this when I was doing the research for my book, and I looked at hundreds of pieces of content from mainstream media, videos, written content, everything, to understand when they use the term Christian nationalism, they're not going to be taking the time to carefully define it, of course, but what do they actually mean, as you can infer from the examples that they give? And when I got into that, what I found was that in the vast, vast majority of cases, I mean, at least 90% of the cases, all it meant when they were talking about a dangerous Christian nationalism is that there were Christians who were advocating for public policy according to their biblical values. That's what it meant. So you would see these articles, for example, where it was talking about a dangerous Christian nationalism coming to all 50 states. And if you look at the examples that they gave, you could find that Christians were advocating for what they called anti-trans laws. And it's so unfortunate that so many Christians don't have a background in what the Bible teaches about the purpose of government and what we should be advocating for. And a lot of Christians don't have a background even in how our government functions. And so we come to believe these labels that the mainstream media puts out there.